It's prime time. Everyone's watching. That's the moment that your highly paid franchise quarterback needs to step up and make those plays. And the miss to Keenan Allen, when he didn't have a whole lot of pressure, he had a chance to drive the ball, he just put too much on it. He just put too much on it. And when you're talking about, they talk about the windows and how tight they are in the NFL, the window was wide open there to Keenan Allen. He didn't have to thread a needle. All he had to do was hit the guy who was running open, and that would have been a play that may have, when you string everything else together after that, changed the outcome of the game. Okay, it was 10-10 in the fourth quarter, just as the fourth quarter was starting, and we had a Tony Pollard sighting, and he had a big run that led to a go-ahead touchdown by the Dallas Cowboys. If we have that, Tony Pollard, 60 yards. Do we have it? And
there
we have it. Dak Prescott facing some pressure, rolls to the right, and then he finds Tony Pollard, and off Tony Pollard goes to the races with a big, breaks through. Okay, grab. What's with the tackling in the NFL? And I know what it is. They don't practice tackling enough, so there's plenty of players that just don't know how to tackle anymore. Not the way they used to. So that was a great play by Dak to keep it alive, and Tony Pollard for the 60-yard gain that set up a Brandon Cooks touchdown. There was a Brandon Cooks sighting last night, too. He had a couple of catches, had that touchdown, a couple of catches that were noticed. Touchdown to make it 17-10. But they need all their guys to get involved. I just feel like they're struggling to get all their guys involved on a regular basis.
Well, Mike, the other thing, too, here is we watched this nice catch by Brandon Cooks that made it 17-10. I mean, I just feel like they need to scheme more for CeeDee Lamb. And, Dak Prescott talked after the game about, feeling really good for Brandon Cooks because he's been such a steady veteran presence. And this was a game, for him where he gets that touchdown, had a nice long third down conversion to really big, strong hands kind of catch that he had on third and long to keep the chains moving on the final drive that the Cowboys had to take the 20-17 lead. But I just feel like when you're CeeDee Lamb and you have 7 targets, 7 catches, and 117 yards, right? It's the same sort of thing we were talking about with Jamar Chase, where he said, yeah, man, I'm always bleeping open. CeeDee Lamb in this offense is almost always bleeping open. And the problem, though, is I don't think they scheme enough for him to also get open. And sometimes Dak Prescott doesn't look toward him enough. And they're playing him in the slot, and sometimes that can create some more favorable matchups. But you're not seeing the Cowboys, I think, scheme for CeeDee Lamb enough because he was eating against the coverage last night from the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, just eating. And when you have that and you look around the league and you see other teams like the Dolphins, and you can't really compare anybody to the Dolphins because they are a supernova, but like how they scheme for Tyreek Hill, right? How Kevin O'Connell will scheme for Justin Jefferson. Sean McVay does it for Cooper Kupp. Kyle Shanahan for Brandon Ayuk. When you have guys who are elite at the receiver position, you scheme for them to get 10-plus targets. The fact that CeeDee Lamb did not have 10 targets in that game, to me, is a little bit ridiculous. He needs to get 10-plus targets almost every single game unless they are totally rolling coverage to him, in which case, yeah, let's find Gallup, let's find Brandon Cooks or whatever. But this guy is a receiver who can make the plays for you, and he's wearing 88 for the Cowboys for a reason, right? Let's get this guy the damn ball and let him cook, because I just feel like they're not doing that enough. You're not playing to the strengths of what your offense is based on what your personnel is. Get 88 the damn ball.
And my hot take that some just despise, so I repeat it as often as I can. I feel like some of these teams are concerned that if they overfeed a receiver, they're going to put him in a position where he wants a lot more money than they ever want to pay him. And when you have owner and GM as the same person who knows he's got enough cap problems as it is, hey, you know what? And there was a comment last week by Jerry Jones, not to that effect, but it's what made me think of it, because he disagreed with the idea that they need to get him the ball more. Because if this guy has superstar numbers, what's he going to want, Miles? He's going to want superstar money. And we've got Dak Prescott with the cap number that's pushing $60 million next year, and he's got us over a barrel, and we don't know what to do. Micah Parsons is going to show up, kicking the door down for his contract extension right after the regular season ends, and the window opens for his second contract, and he's going to be one of the rare guys that's going to say, I want it now. before the playoffs. I bet he does. So you got those guys that you have to deal with. And if CeeDee Lamb has 130 catches this year and 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns, CeeDee Lamb's going to want $30 million per year. So I just can't help but wonder whether or not at some level Mike McCarthy's been told, directly or indirectly, subtly or not subtly, not that Jerry Jones says or does anything with any nuance or subtlety. I just can't help but wonder whether or not that's part of it, because either they're dumb or there's a strategy. Anytime anything happens, it's either two explanations: dumb or you did it on purpose. So what are the Cowboys? Are they dumb or are they doing it on purpose? Because it's obvious they need to be making CeeDee Lamb, as you said, centerpiece, game plan, scheme, and force teams to double him, force teams to take him away. Then everything else opens up. Then Michael Gallup's getting more than 3 catches a game. Then Brandon Cooks is doing more than he's been doing. Your second leading receiver isn't a running back, which it was last night with 6 catches from Tony Pollard. So their running game also, when Dak Prescott, anytime your quarterback's your leading rusher, that's not good unless your quarterback's getting 130 yards rushing. So Tony Pollard had 30 yards on 15 attempts last night. Yeah, 30 yards on 15 attempts for a guy that you're paying 8 figures to isn't good enough out of your running game. Let's hear from Dak talking about getting both CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks more involved last night.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of the plan. You talk about what was part of the plan going into this game, knowing that we'd get some matchups with those guys, understanding how they were going to play CeeDee, clouding his side, when they were going to, giving the Cooks outside some one-on-ones, and we took advantage of them. Cooks did a great job. Tonight was due. Tonight it was due up, and just the player that he's been, the person that he's been, everything that he brings to this team, getting the touchdown, big third down catches, plays that he made all over the field, and he was due for a night like this. Happy for him, and it'll only grow from here.
And that's the question. They got to take this and they got to build on it. And really, the vibe can change so quick. It's why you don't get desperate. It's why you don't give up after a horrible night like they had in Santa Clara 9 days ago. Because, as I said earlier, 49ers lost, Eagles lost, Cowboys win. All of a sudden, everything's different. And you feel like, hey, maybe we can be hopeful instead of hopeless again. But they just got to keep building. As you said, they got to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. They got to diversify the offense a little bit more. And they just got to get more rhythm. They just got to get more. It can't feel like the offense just kind of falls flat and you're just waiting and waiting for something. And it just kind of plods along. And then it sparks. You need to have more. It's just got to be better start to finish. They got to get more than 20 points a game. They can't count on the defense to hold the team in the teens. Last night the defense did. You just can't assume that's going to happen. You got to be shooting for 30 a week, not 20.
Well, I mean, you had a game last night where there were penalties pre-snap, and I didn't look and count, but my God, there must have been upwards of 10 total pre-snap penalties between both teams. And I'm sitting there in the press box thinking I would absolutely lose my bleeping mind if I'm one of these coaches and we have a legal shift, offsides lined up in the neutral zone. I mean, all these things that you can control, you're not doing right. So it was a weird kind of clunky game, and Mike McCarthy described it like that after in his own press conference. But I'm just thinking, man, like, you can't have the pre-snap penalties and then along with all the other blunders that you have. And certainly that muff punt was a huge blunder in the game. And it's really, I think, the only reason why the Chargers were still in it in the fourth quarter. I mean, because at that point, the Cowboys looked like they were really in control of the game. But you can't keep doing those things and expect to beat the teams that are actually really, really good in this league. I mean, we saw it, in week 5 as the Cowboys went up to Santa Clara and they got blasted. If you do those kinds of things after the bye for the Cowboys, which is now this coming week, then you're not going to beat the elite teams, not only in the conference, but in the entire National Football League, because they still got AFC opponents left. So I don't think that the Cowboys right now are disciplined enough to be able to to be able to consider them as one of the elite teams in the league. I don't. Not the way that they're playing right now.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.